Hi, I'm here today to talk about gentrification, and in particular how people have misused the word a lot to mean something besides what it actually means, and how we're going to see a lot more of what people have been misusing it as coming up here in the future. I went onto Bing and I looked it up. I also did a Google and a couple other ones to see if they were similar. But it's a noun, and it says the process of renovating and improving a house or district so that it conforms to middle class taste, or the process of making a person or activity more refined or polite. Okay. Now, generally, this term gentrification is used as like a racist thing that white people going in and buying these poor black people's houses and making themselves some money. Which, yes and no, that's not the point of gentrification. That happens sometimes, and they gentrify as they do it. What people refer to when they say gentrification typically is you got a whole bunch of wealthy people that'll buy little pieces of property in dumpy areas, often known as the ghetto, the hood, whatever you want to call it. And they'll fix up a couple properties here and there, raising property values around them so the neighbors can no longer afford their payments. And then the wealthy person who put the money in the first place buys up these properties at a huge discount because foreclosures are, I mean, they cost almost nothing, pennies on the dollar. So you buy up 6 or 7 properties and you fix all of them up real nice. You make them all look real nice. You sell them off, or even better, you rent them out and make money on them. And then with that money, you turn around and do it to the next block over, and you keep pushing it down the road, raising the property values of everything around you, which sounds awesome. That's gentrification. The problem is you've kicked out all these poor people that were barely getting by, so you can make a bunch of money on what they're doing. That's why people hate this term so much. Yeah, and they misuse the word a lot, thinking that it's only racist people doing it. It's actually capitalists trying to make a dollar. What I'm concerned about is this eviction moratorium we have going on right now. All these renters that cannot, and mortgage holders that cannot be evicted during this lockdown thing. People seem to think that means these people are going to have a home. No, not a problem. The day this thing gets lifted, thousands, possibly millions of people are going to be kicked out of their homes immediately. Because here's just a story of a guy I knew in the Navy. Every time he got a new port he was stationed to, he would buy a house, he'd live in it for however long he was there. Then he would when he got shipped to a new place, he would get a maintenance company that would take care of the property for him, and he would pay them and have renters move in. The renters paid him enough to pay the mortgage and the maintenance company. So he didn't make any money, but everywhere he went, he had another piece of property that he had more net worth, more value that he could borrow against, etc., etc. Which is actually an argument I brought up about having stuff is not the same thing as having money. But this guy had 5 or 6 houses and people living in each of them. I'm concerned that right now he might be boned. All these people just said, no, we're not going to pay you our rent and you cannot kick us out. So now he's turning around looking at the mortgage companies that he owns 5 houses under, that he has to pay mortgage on, that he is not getting any income to pay. He's going to lose his home. He's going to lose all of these homes. So even if he's a nice guy and is going to figure out how to work it out with these folks, the mortgage company is going to sell it out from underneath them in a foreclosure, all of them, to someone wicked cheap so the bank gets their money back. Isn't this what we hate about gentrification? Was you kick out the people renting that can't afford to buy a property and sell it to someone for way less money so they can, This is going to happen a lot. Because, if you owned a home that you were renting out to someone, they just stopped paying you rent. As soon as you were allowed to kick them out and get in new renters, you would. And you could say, no, I wouldn't. So you would just lose the property altogether. Let someone else buy it up. You at least play by the rules, or else you're not going to get to play at all. It just seems kind of crazy to me that we're looking at this eviction moratorium, foreclosure moratorium, like it's some kind of safeguard. And all it's doing is letting you get 6, 8, 9 months, 12 months arrear in payments, and you're going to have to come up with a year's worth of rent all of a sudden, and you're not going to be able to do it. And what are we going to do when all of a sudden there's an extra million homeless people? It's going to be chaos, because I'm telling you, these folks aren't going to go quietly into that cold night. They're going to do what they got to do to make sure their family's taken care of. Problem is, not everyone thinks more than 10 minutes into the future, and they say, just like the no payments until 2022. Then 2022 shows up and you go, oh crap! Everything I bought 10 years ago on a credit card, I have to pay for it now. And that happens a lot to people. And it's going to happen to a lot of people when this goes away. They're going to lose their homes. They're going to lose everything. I mean, they've already lost their jobs. Now they're going to be homeless. So they're going to be probably dirty and stinky, hungry, possibly committing crimes to feed their family. And it's going to be very tough to get a job when you are nappy, matted hair that's actually dirty, with clumps of whatever, and you're not getting showers often enough, and you go in there smelling like an armpit for a job interview with a criminal record this long of stealing. Who's going to hire a thief? This is the big issue I'm seeing in general, this lockdown, and I understand the idea that we need to protect people, but you staying home, how is me going to Red Robin and getting a cheeseburger going to kill you? Now you can play the 6 points of contact thing. You walk into the supermarket and you breathe the air that's in there. You pick up the fruits and the vegetables and you smell them and you roll them around your hands and you put them back down. Everyone else did it too. Not to mention you're touching the outside of your mask and all this other stuff. And then touching all this stuff. If we were genuinely so concerned that we're willing to let millions of people starve to death and lose their homes, then why aren't we taking these restrictions more seriously in terms of actually doing them correctly? Like these people you see getting into fist fights over this stuff. It's like, you think I'm going to kill you because I'm not wearing a mask. I'm going to breathe on you, so you're going to get up close to me. You're going to throw a punch at me, make physical contact, blood, sweat, saliva, all sorts of nasty stuff spreading back and forth in a fist fight. So you think me breathing near you is going to kill you? Then you're definitely going to die if you engage with me. Maybe your best bet is to walk away. Now, are you so stupid you didn't think of this? Or do you not really believe it's that dangerous and you're just playing along? That's the real question. You can believe what you want. I'm not going to tell you if you're right or wrong necessarily unless I have facts. But that's the issue. That's the difference between saying trust the scientists and actually looking at what the scientists had to say. Fauci last week admitted the second time that he's lied to us because he knew better than us. Science doesn't change. We keep hearing that a lot too. Like, well, he changed his mind because science changed it. No. Gravity didn't come into existence when Newton said something, and it didn't change when Einstein had a new theory. It already existed. We understood it differently. So he was wrong. That's the difference. The science didn't change. He was wrong. And that's okay. Everyone's wrong sometimes. Often. But if you're going to say that this guy is, the end-all, be-all, then at least don't lie to me. It's one thing to be wrong. It's another thing to come out later and say, well, I said this because I didn't think that people were ready to hear the truth yet. And he said it twice. Yeah, if you didn't hear that, it's because your Facebook feed and your Twitter feed are not news sources. It's even more fun as I share stuff like this from CNN to people. I'm like, well, I didn't see this. And I'm like, well, it's from your news company that you keep telling me is reliable. If you don't trust the Daily Wire or Daily Mail or any of these other places. I don't know, it just seems kind of crazy that we're willing to sacrifice all of these lives. And not just that, these are the young, healthy people that are going out there and earning money and taxes and keeping the economy moving so that we can feed people. If we can just print money in this situation and get out of this, why does anyone have to pay taxes or work? Why don't we just print all the money in the world? I'll tell you why, because if we give everyone $1 million, and then someone calls you up and says, I need 1,000 widgets by next Monday, you're going to tell them to F themselves because you got $1 million. Yeah. Yeah, and that guy, when you go to the grocery store to get food, there's no one there. Because everyone who worked at that grocery store got $1 million too. And everyone who worked the entire food supply chain got $1 million too. That's why you can't do stuff like this. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Someone paid for it. Just like these Girl Scout cookies. Everybody hear this? They just got busted for using child slave labor in Malaysia to make their cookies less expensive while their prices keep going up. All of this crap has to at least be looked at versus just, yep, it's good. We're sending work overseas and letting these small companies overseas do a lot of this stuff. But that means we're throwing away more jobs from Americans. It just seems kind of crazy to me. I don't know, give me some feedback. What do you think? Let me know if you see your way around people losing their homes anyway. Because there's a couple of things that have been done with banks, but they're not going to let you just not pay 9 months of mortgage And, the person who owns the house isn't going to let someone go 9 months without paying their rent. It's just not going to happen. People rely on that money to survive. And I understand that you needed your money to survive. That's why you didn't pay your bills. But now that guy who needed that can't eat either. And it's not his fault. He was prepared. He had properties put aside. Problem is, the average American lives paycheck to paycheck. And when you go 9 months without a paycheck, you get some really desperate people. Very desperate. And actually have a look at the crime in New York, because people aren't on the subways having the wallet stolen. People are breaking into other people's houses now, more often. Criminals are going to get more bold, and honest people are going to start doing crimes. Even if it's just stealing food from someone or some jewelry when they get the chance. I don't know. If anyone sees a way around any of this, let me know, because I really don't want to see the fallout that'll happen when all these people are kicked in the streets at once. Because they're not just going to say, oh well, I'm going to die here tonight. They will riot, and there will be a giant mess. Many people will be hurt, and God knows the police won't be able to do crap, because they've already pissed off the left with this defund the police thing. And then the only people that did support them were the right-wingers and the libertarians. Libertarians only supported them because they kind of have to. But as soon as the police did something wrong, they stopped supporting them. And when you're kicking people, shutting down their businesses, telling them they can't do this stuff, you tell them they can't peaceably assemble in the streets, which is a right, they lost the support of the right wing and the rest of the libertarians. Just like there were, 3 or 4 Massachusetts state police officers stabbed or shot over the last couple of weeks. No one even heard about it. No one cares anymore. And you gotta be real careful when no one cares about the police, and then people start starving and freezing to death. If you're a smart ant and have all your supplies, everything you need underground, make sure you have a better weapon than that grasshopper when he comes to take it from you. Because remember, a praying mantis is a grasshopper, and it'll take your head right off. Best of luck, all.